And what a lot of people don't realize is that residing in a lot of people's software are programs that can be activated. We develop our own software, so our engineers went through ours periodically, and we find periodically, right in the middle of it, a code that's been coded in Chinese. It's a table and a matrix that has not been activated, but is sleeping in our website that we have to clean out every once in a while. And we've built safeguards now to keep them out, but the fact is most people have already been hacked. Most of the utilities in the country, most of the things that we rely on have been hacked through.
Well, here's an example.
I think there will be a crisis.
Well, there's economic hacking. Microsoft, this has all happened because they built things for their own back doors, and they built it so their NSA Snoop systems could plug right in, and now that's opened them up to all the other hackers.
Right. Plus, at the same time, it's a case of building that commercial information. I mean, knowing wherever you go is a very useful thing for commercial purposes and extremely valuable. Datavalence, something we reported on as far back as 2000 in the book Earth Rising, the Revolution. You know, we got into this whole concept before it was even in people's minds.
No, you did. I remember having him on. Well, the British News yesterday, and it was in my stack. I didn't get to it, but it was on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. So much there that isn't on the show, folks. Be sure and visit those sites. And right there it said, the government tracks your Bluetooth and tracks your phone and tracks your and uses it as a beacon to follow you. Well, that was built in to all the cell phones by international law by 2001. But see, they're just now announcing that yes, they built it in and they're tracking you.
Yeah, and it was in those days, and it was actually laid out even further back in 1989. There was a document that was put together by the U.S. Army War College, and we talk about it all the time, and it was laying out the sort of plan for using GPS to track business travelers in case there was some conflict, they'd be able to extract them. And it morphed into, what later became cell phone technology and personal pagers, and then OnStar on your automobile. And, now most people, I'm probably one of the few that don't carry a cell phone, And it's not so much because of the idea of sticking a microwave next to my head and the health consequences alone. It's basically the whole package. Not only do I get unhealthy, but I'm enslaved to this device that I'm on 24-hour call. And then thirdly, it's the invasiveness of the invasion in your personal privacy. And I resent that. And I think it should have been safeguarded. And the thing about a lot of the laws is they don't know that not only do they not provide safeguards, but they're civil. These things need to be criminal laws that nail people and put them in jail. When a few CEOs go to jail for illegal wiretapping instead of making it legal and giving people basically clemency for whatever evil they've done, we need to put some people in jail over this, and then the game changes. And the American public is sick and tired of having our digital doors kicked in by the Nazis of the 21st century.
I agree. Anything else, Rusty? We got to move quicker. Go.
No, that's it. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Rusty. Paige in Michigan. You're on the air worldwide. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to ask Dr. Begich, because I know he works a lot with electromagnetic technologies, if he had ever heard about this thing called the Clark Zapper.
Yes, Hilda Clark's device, and she wrote a really excellent book on the subject. And, it's one of many technologies, the idea of using electromagnetic fields to affect health. And being able to quantify and qualify that, there's a lot of material out there on light therapies, laser therapies. In fact, I know some of the best practitioners in Europe that serve on the board for medical lasers, those that oversee applications of medical lasers for healing applications. Also, they use an electromagnetic probe that's used for acupuncture treatments. It's been very effective in treating a number of disorders. But these are technologies that sort of give you back your power because they're curative, whereas most of the pharmaceutical industry is based on this idea of coming back for more. In fact, there's an excellent book. It's called Dirty Medicine. May be out of print. It was published in Great Britain back in the 90s, 900-page expose on the pharmaceutical industry with over, I think it was like 1,000 reference sources or more.
But I want to say this as well. We have to police ourselves because obviously there is frequency in light treatments. The Japanese are doing it, the Germans, the Dutch. As you know, there's a lot of things that are confirmed, thousands of different types of treatments. that have been blocked. The problem is then you get quacks and kooks. Just because the government and some corporations are corrupt, well, that's human nature, doesn't mean then every group on the Internet's good, selling $5,000 machines that are some flashing lights.
That's right.
That then is used to discredit all the real research.
That is exactly right. And this is where people need to be careful. Don't look at testimonials. Look at real scientific evidence. And there's plenty of it around. And that's the point. And in today, we ought to be, it's easy. We ought to be able to find it. We can. And there's a lot of medical practice. A simple thing, artificial discs for your back just came in the United States 2 years ago. They've been done in Germany since 1983, and successfully, where a guy working a jackhammer, getting his L1 and L2 replaced, is back working a jackhammer in 10 weeks.
But they would rather go in and cut a piece of your hip out because it costs 3 times as much.
Right, and not only that, but the Germans have to post their medical procedures or total cost, post them. They're online. You can actually look them up. And German technology is not slouch technology, and their public health departments are very much more active than ours. In fact, the German public health department warned schools that Wi-Fi was a risk to adolescents and small children.
And the Germans are also, years ago, said vaccines are bad for small children. They have mercury in them. Showing that not all the mid-level elites are bad. It's that the higher-up elites know exactly what they're doing, and it's just so cold-blooded. And then we tell people... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the science knowledge in Germany. See, the average person has a little bit higher science knowledge, so they can't lie so readily. You know, and what people know in high school in chemistry is sufficient for them to look at a report and understand, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And we've dumbed our population down.
That's right. The Germans are real sharp, and it's hard to get stuff past them compared to us. Of course, in the past, we were known as the smartest and most cunning people, and now...
Absolutely.
I guess we've had it good so long, we've been under the microscope of the New World Order being brainwashed, and we've just... I mean, it's this built-in denial by people, denying things that, I mean, I remember 10 years ago people saying there's no mercury in shots, and I'd go, here is the handout that comes with the shot. Yes, it's in there. And they'd say,
right.
And then the government said, okay, it's in there, but it's good for you. Then they said, oh, we took it out. Now they say, no, we never took it out, but it is good for you. Well, now they say it's in there, but it's bad for you. I mean, how many lies, Dr. Begich, do we have to get from the people running our government before we realize they are intellectually bankrupt and shouldn't be trusted with a toilet attendant's job?
Well, and you know, it's unfortunately the truth, and it's time to recognize the things that have corrupted. And when you start to look at all these issues combined, I mean, I still think Americans do generate some pretty creative people, and some of the most outstanding, it's interesting, are homeschooled, which is, you know, as a past president of a teachers organization, I am the only one that I know of that was president of a statewide teachers organization that supports homeschooling nationally. And the reason I do is because it works, and it works very, very effectively. And the things that the way we used to teach and educate, it was about reading, about studying, and about mentoring. Now it's about script reading and propaganda, and this is where homeschooling and public schooling differs.
Okay.
All these things do link together. It's one big package.
We're going to skip this break, too, continue getting through the calls, and then I'm going to ask the big question to Dr. Begich. What is the end game? If the globalists win, if this unified technocratic elite funded by the private central banks has their way, what will it look like? What are we facing in the short, medium, and long term? EarthPulse.com is his website. Stay with us. Okay, Doc, let me ask you in front of all the Internet listeners. I know we had you until the bottom of the hour, but I want to, this is so interesting, we've got to do this more often. We're just both so busy. I want to go ahead and keep you to the end of the show, which is in about 35 minutes. If you can't do it, that's okay.
Just if we can just give me about 5 to 12, because I've got to change and run to a meeting at 12:30, but that would be fine.
Okay, so 5
till the hour, we can go till then.
That's fine. In fact, I'll let you get out of here at 51 after.
All right, that's perfect. That must be one of the breaks that we keep missing.
Yeah, so you're saying, I mean, as long as you're gone by the last 5 minutes, you're fine.
I'm good, yeah.
So you're good till 51 after this hour.
That's good.
Good. Okay, let's continue so we don't waste
sure.
the time we've got. Go ahead.
You know, when you start to look at all of this as it connects together, you know, when you think about education as an example, some of the technologies that are out there that could accelerate the educational process in some pretty dramatic ways in terms of being able to retain information, being able to use that information more creatively, and yet these technologies stay on the shelf for 20, 30 years before public education ever gets a grip of them. In the case of attention deficit disorders, as an example, there are technologies today that in 80% of the children that have used them, within 30 to 45 days, they can be taken off of all their psychoactive drugs. Their brain capacity in terms of being able to moderate their brain activity into the range where you're ideally suited for intellectual learning is self-controlled. In other words, they don't need the drugs anymore. They can get into a focused state of learning like you and I can do when we read a book or we normally function.
But that would put the drug companies out of business, and they don't want that. Let's go ahead and go back to the calls. Paige, anything else?